And we're back. And we're just getting our third and final conversation started for this morning. And it is Sea Turtles Week, and we are talking all about the importance of these special marine creatures. And joining us for this conversation, we have Kira Foreman, who is a technical manager of the Hulchan Marine Reserve, and we also have Ronaldo Castro, who is a biologist at the Sapodilla Key Marine Reserve with the Fisheries Department. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
And thank you for joining us. Of course, we are really happy to talk about sea turtles and their importance. So, Kira, why don't we start by just talking about sea turtles and the role they play in our ecosystem here, and why it's important why we're shining the spotlight on them this week.
Yes, thank you all for this opportunity to talk about turtles this morning. Everybody that knows me knows this is a subject that I'm very passionate about. Turtles are very important. They're part of our ecosystem. They're one of the, we tend to not really look at them. We talk about fish a lot. We talk about the importance of corals, but we don't look at these, what we consider to be very charismatic creatures. They're one of they play a role and function. So they play a part in our food chain. One of the things that they do a lot is that through their feeding biology, they do add nutrients back into the system. They are very long-lived. They take up many different habitats. The part of their biology is that the females exit the water during a part of their life cycle to nest. And so they use not only the sea, but also the land. So they range they have a large home range, and they utilize several different ecosystems throughout their lifetime. So they are, because of these reasons, they're very important. For us here in Belize, one of the main importance that people often focus on is the fact that everybody knows turtles. Even if you live in some far off remote village or something, you talk about a sea turtle and it kind of gives you this awe and this sense of feeling towards turtles, even if you've never seen one in your life. You have the little jewelry, everybody has something with a little turtle. So they're very charismatic. And for our tourism industry, they're important because people who come, they want to see turtles. They want to go out and get that one-on-one encounter and close-up interaction, and they lend themselves to that.
Until I knew we were having this conversation today, I never realized that I have not seen a sea turtle in the sea. As in, I'm diving or snorkeling and I see the turtle there. Let's talk about our population and just how prominent they are and the different species.
First thing, Marlene, we need to fix that. I'm extending an invitation to you to come to Hulchan to get your sea turtle experience.
Right?
Yeah, the population, because as I mentioned, they have a very large home range. The population is endangered. Here in Belize, we have 3 species: the loggerhead turtle, the green turtle, and the hawksbill. And they are endangered worldwide. Yeah. The hawksbill has, I think that's recently been removed because they've been the one that's been protected the longest. But the numbers are very low. Here in Belize, we track our nesting because that is where we usually get to see the nesting, and we do population estimate based on nesting. It's not the most accurate, I would say, because you do need to look at the different life stages. But we have seen some decline in the nesting populations, especially for loggerheads. Yeah. I think today we're focusing, as part of the Sea Turtle Week, we're going to be focusing on green turtles for today. Oh, there's a video of the little hatching.
Yes.
They're so cute when they're so tiny.
They are. And their survival rate, it's low, right? So even though we see a lot of turtles going out, not all of them survive.
Yes, and that's why they lay so many eggs. A female will lay anywhere between 75 to 100 eggs per nest. And you'll maybe get 1 or 2% of them hatching, surviving. Surviving, yes. So they're very low. but they're kind of like a little tank. They're kind of like a little tank. They're extremely tough, and that's what's been able to well, that's why they've been able to survive for so long.
Yeah.
And Ronaldo, perhaps you can also chime in here and talk a bit about the work that you do and what some of the importance of turtles in that.
Well, in the Sapadilaki area, we have a lot of tourists visiting the area, and a lot of them goes by there mainly to see sea turtles, while snorkeling and so forth. So some of the work we do there are these nesting beaches that we have in Sapadilaki. We have about 9 nesting beaches, and we have turtles coming up each year during the period of May to October to come and nest. So, I mean, last year we had approximately 69 turtle coming up to nest within the Sapadilaki Marine Reserve. Like Kira mentioned, I mean, the survival rate is very low. We have like 1 turtle out of every 1,000 that actually makes it to adult. So, I mean, it's very concerning that we need to protect our sea turtles and to be mindful of that. Some of the changes affecting sea turtles nesting is basically climate change. I mean, in last year, September, we had a lot of storms that eroded many of our beaches in that area. So a lot of nests was lost the nesting period of last year.
Yeah.
And is there any other sort of like activity that perhaps that we do that might affect the way or, the healthy population of turtles?
Well, in terms of garbage disposal, no plastics in the water, many of the turtle feeds on jellyfish, and at times they would mistake these plastic bags for jellyfish and would eat plastics, and then they would suffocate and die. In terms of the nesting, people would go on the beaches, light fires, to do barbecues and so forth, and that could affect nesting because probably they won't know a turtle had nest in that area and they just build a fire over a nest that would cause the loss of all those eggs.
Yeah, humans are the biggest threat to the turtle population, and this is worldwide. As Ronaldo mentioned, the activity with garbage disposal, the use at the beach, they do use the beach. They do the females exit the water annually to nest. And so some of the things we've seen is people putting up seawalls in nesting beaches. We just recently had a nest where the female comes up every 2 to 3 years. So one female will not come back every single year. So it's not the same female nesting annually. So she'll return every 2 to 3 years. And she came back this year just to find that most of the beach area has been barricaded by a seawall. And she just fortunately found the one little gap in between the 2 seawalls. So when people purchase their new, especially here in Ambergris, which is one of the largest nesting beach next to Gales Point here in the country, when people purchase their property, maybe they're not informed, maybe they don't know that it's a nesting beach, and then because they're worried about erosion, they're worried about their property, so they put up these barricades to hold in the sand, and then the turtles, of course, they won't be able to walk over. This particular site that I'm referring to, we have data going all the way back to the late 90s that we have nesting within that area. So what the activities of humans are the biggest threat to the population. Bycatch in netting is another issue. And these things are not something that here in Belize we can just tackle in isolation. A female that would nest or they would breed here, they may be living in Costa Rica, they may be living in some other part of the Caribbean, and they travel many, many miles just to come and lay their eggs. And so what happens in these other countries are also of concern to us. So here in Belize, we recently banned gill nets, but it doesn't mean that the threat to the population isn't still there because it is legal in other countries. And so a lot of the impacts and a lot of the threats are human related. As Ronaldo had mentioned, we enjoy the beach on the weekend. We go and want to encourage people to do that. But we need to be mindful during the nesting season. We remove our garbage. We need to, if you're going to the beach within a nesting area, you don't want to trample over the nest.
Yeah.
And these are little things that we need to be mindful of.
Some people, I mean, some people who own properties along beaches, they're very good at taking care of nesting sites. But not everyone may know how to recognize them. What are the signs that you should look for?
The best way to describe what it looks like is like a little mini tractor going up your beach.
Okay.
The tracks look similar like tractor tracks.
Okay. So once you see those tracks on the beach, that means that a turtle came out to lay its eggs.
Yes. And they usually come out in the late evenings or at night time.
Okay. And I think there's also when there are some groups, conservationist groups, they have identified nests. You know, either they put, you know, like sticks with a little flag or something on it, but a lot of times people don't actually know that it's a turtle nest. Can you talk a little bit about sort of different ways that, you know, conservationists or people actually do identify so that people know what to look out for?
Here what we do is we do flag them. We use flagging tape a lot. And we do mark them. We write little notes on the sticks that we use. We try to make use of what we have on the beach. So we'll pick up driftwood or things like that, and we write it on it. So we'll have a little code, and we put a flagging tape. So right where the nests are. We have another group here in Ambergris who's been doing a great job. They've been putting up signs near the nesting beaches so that people know when they're in an area. Because we have had people vandalize the net. They've intentionally removed the flags, intentionally removed the markers. And historically, people did used to eat the eggs here. We haven't seen a lot of that. So I applaud the public in respecting the nest and not removing the eggs. But still, when you're removing the tags, it makes it difficult when we go back. Because one of the things we look at as well is the hatching success. So we go when we identify, unless we go back again, we dig it up after it has hatched. It usually takes about 50 to 60 days to hatch. And then we see how many made it out, how many survived. And that way we know what the hatching success of our beach is. So when people remove these markers, it makes it difficult when we go back again, especially over time with the rain and the wind. The tracks that were made early on, they're gone.
Oh, they're just so cute. I know. But, you know, we look at it and we think it's cute, but we do know that some of the threats also include not just pollution, but people wanting to get the meat, or they want the shell. How much do we still face those types of threats?
We still do. It's we're trying to assess what's the rate of the take for shell. We do get reports of turtle jewelry being sold on the black market, and we have gotten last year we got several reports of the meat. So we're still trying to track it. What we rely on, because it's is people to report it. You know, you can report it anonymously if you know of someone engaged in these activities. This is an illegal activity. It carries a hefty fine. So you need to, we encourage, I should say, people to report when they see or if they hear of it, because it usually happens in isolation. Last year we had several different reports. We narrowed it down to location, but we're not able to track down the persons responsible.
Okay.
But it is a delicacy in Belize. Historically, we have eaten it in the past.
So add to what Kira have been saying, in terms of how we do our nesting monitoring in the Sapodilla Key, because I've been to Barbados in 2019, and I've gained a lot of experience working with them, with sea turtle, and they usually don't mark their nest. They would take a GPS coordinate, they would try to cover up all tracks and so forth, because for the reason of poaching, some people would try to go and harvest the eggs, some people eat the eggs. In Sapodilla Key area, we have tourists that visit from Guatemala and Honduras, and if they would notice a nest or something and no one is watching over them, they would probably dig up the nest and take eggs, because, I mean, it's something they eat over there. So my experience in Barbados, they usually don't mark the nest, they just take a coordinate. They would use a small piece of stick or a marker that they would bury inside the nest, about 10 centimeters inside the nest, with the information stating, you know, the date it was laid, the date they discovered the nest, how many eggs are in the nest, approximate date of hatching, the species, and so forth. You know, and in terms of people developing on the beach or anything, the Barbados Sea Turtle Program, they would have to be contacted before any kind of development, any kind of beach activities being conducted, and then they would revise their data and their database and to see if any nest is in that area before any kind of activity could be conducted. So that's a good way of how they have been keeping good eyes on their nests.
Okay. All right. So what type of activities are going to take place for Sea Turtle Week?
Here for us here in the north, in San Pedro, one of the things that we will be doing, and the public can look out for this, we'll be doing a little online trivia. We have a bunch of small giveaways. And so our education and outreach coordinator will be posting questions for people to answer and to win small prizes. This is a nesting season, by the way. So we're going to be out monitoring the beaches. We have several reports. It has begun. We have nesting going on. So we will be monitoring. So this week and next week, we try to do it weekly during the nesting season.
And for people like me who want to see the turtles in action safely, where's the best place to see them?
In terms of seeing the nesting?
No, not the nesting, the turtles themselves.
Well, I'm a little bit biased, so I will say come to Hulchan Marine Reserve. Ronaldo, he will say go to Sap Keys. Anywhere there, you know, out in the reef, you have the opportunity to come in contact with them. In Hulchan, we do have some resident juveniles that feed within the area, so your chances is a little bit higher. But it depends on who you ask, Marlene. You know,
okay. All right. Well, Hulchan is closer. That's one thing. But I will say, Sapodilla Keys are some of the most gorgeous islands in this country. So you got something for you there, Reynaldo.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we do thank you for telling us all about the importance of sea turtles. Of course, looking at them, they're so majestic and such. But as you noted, a critical part of the marine ecosystem. So we hope that people have learned about what we can do to reduce the risks for them so that they can continue to grow in population size. Thank you both for joining us.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
All right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take our final break. And when we come back, we'll have our wrap up. So stay tuned.